touched by type 1 diabetes has their diagnosis story. The day that you never forget. The day when life as you know it changes forever. Ours happened out of the blue 8 years ago when my daughter Delilah was 5. Multiple trips to the bathroom during one movie brought us casually to the pediatrician the following day after preschool. We giggled over the pee-pee sample, and we hadn't even settled into an exam room when the doctor came striding down the hall and sent us directly to the emergency room. Within an hour, we had a diagnosis of type 1 diabetes, and we spent nearly a week in the hospital. We knew so little about T1D that for the first couple of days, my husband and I thought Delilah would grow out of it. Now we know all too well, type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease that can strike anyone at any age and is unpreventable and irreversible, rendering its sufferers insulin dependent for life. Without insulin, which can only be administered via a needle, a person with type 1 would soon die. From one day to the next, our daughter's life was in our hands. We were required to prick her little finger to squeeze out a drop of blood to test her blood sugar between 10 and 15 times a day and night, followed by up to 8 shots of insulin a day. It was and remains terrifying. It would be one thing if there were some protocol that we could master in order to keep her blood sugar in control. There is not. Insulin doses are they're guesswork. They are affected by emotional fluctuations, food intake, activity level, exercise, and sometimes I am convinced the position of Mars, or that's how it feels sometimes. So no, actually, we don't have it all under control by now, even after all this time, because there is simply no way to mimic the wisdom of the body and keep a type 1 diabetic's blood sugar in the normal range. A diagnosis of T1D affects the entire family and family of friends. As a caregiver of a child with type 1, I live and breathe T1D because I have to. Insulin keeps Delilah alive and is also an extremely dangerous drug. Too much and a severe low blood sugar could have devastating consequences. Too little could result in a coma or worse. We play with fire 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, without a single moment of respite. Because you can do everything right and still have life-threatening consequences, either in the short term or the long term. Every parent of a type 1 knows exactly what I'm talking about right now. Sleep interruptions from caring for a child with type 1 far exceed anything you ever experience as the parent of a newborn. Diabetes never learns to sleep through the night. Play dates, sleepovers, camp, sports, every element of childhood is invaded by this new vulnerability. A disease that is difficult to understand and manage turns things that were once so simple, like a field trip, into a complicated and even dangerous leap of faith. Now that Delilah is a teenager, T1D is even more of a challenge. How do I control and let go at the same time? The stakes are immeasurably higher for a teenager dealing with type 1, testing her limits as a part of normal, healthy independence. Because while testing her limits, she also has to test her blood sugar, and then respond to beeps from her glucose monitor, and then change her insulin pump, and then check her blood sugar again, and then treat a low blood sugar, and then deal with the inevitable high blood sugar that follows treating a low blood sugar. This is all going on every minute of every day, without a single moment of respite. It is exhausting. It is relentless. We are like ducks, You see the duck gliding along the water, looking serene and in control. But underneath the surface, its legs are furiously and endlessly paddling, just as we are furiously and endlessly battling to live our lives and keep the demons of blood sugar at bay. We can never glide, we can never take a breather, we can never put our head to the pillow without a care in the world, never. But we always look for something positive, so let me also share the truth of the good. As a result of this diagnosis, our family has experienced an outpouring of love and support, the likes of which I never could have imagined. Within this JDRF community, we have seen kindness, compassion, grace, and generosity. Hint, hint, generosity. That we would never have experienced if we hadn't become part of this club that we all wish did not exist. Let me now turn it over to my daughter, Delilah, my hero, to tell you part 2 of our family's story.
About a year after I was diagnosed with T1D, our family experienced another one of those days that you'll never forget, the day your life changes forever. My mom was diagnosed with T1D just like me. She says there was a miscommunication in her prayers. Praying to take it away from me is one thing, and getting it herself as well is another. How did our family handle this double diagnosis? First and foremost, we stuck together. We put our hearts and minds into helping JDRF create a world without type 1 diabetes. My brother is my rock, and he's always there with a juice box if I need him. My Nana's always there with a hug and a kiss if I'm ever frustrated. And my best friend Julia is always there to make sure I'm safe and happy. My amazing parents are great, and they've put so much time and effort into helping JDRF. In 2009, I was chosen to represent Connecticut in the Children's Congress. We traveled to Washington, D.C. to meet the state representatives and lobby for continuing diabetes research. Now, I was only 6, but I knew Washington, D.C. was where the president lived, and I was determined to go to the president's house and shake his hand. Now, everyone told me that wasn't gonna happen, but it did. So, this is me meeting the president at the White House just as I said I would.
Bravo!
As you can see, I'm pretty determined to find, or rather fund, a cure for T1D.
T1D has invaded my household, my family, my mind, my body. We live encumbered by technology, dependent on insulin, and under a constant threat on our lives. Delilah and I have grown even closer as a result of our shared disease, and we are determined to make a difference to help create a world without type 1. The truth is, money can fund a cure. You who have walked with us and cycled with us and golfed with us and catwalked with us, we are so grateful. Tonight, all you have to do though is raise that paper, so it's a lot easier. The truth is, there is so much promising research out there just waiting for the funding to progress. We used to say we have a hope for a cure, but now we have a very firm expectation of one. So tonight, on behalf of my daughter and myself, and everyone who suffers from type 1 diabetes, please help us turn type 1 into type none. Thank you.